of the biggest things that trips lifters up on the platform is not knowing exactly what to expect from the referees. You do your meet prep and everything seems perfect, but then you get on the platform at the competition, do your bench, just like you practice in training, and everything seems like it's perfect until you sit up and you see that you got red lighted. There's no reason for that, and so we asked USPA National referee Mike Newbern to do a quick video explaining exactly what the referees are looking for when you perform a bench on a powerlifting platform in the USPA.
So the first command you're going to get when the bench press happens is the head judge will say platform's ready and raise his or her right or left arm up in the air, and you'll be off the platform. So you come out to the platform and then take your position on the bench however works for you. And you can grab the uprights, move yourself into position. You can put your feet on the bench to set yourself down. But what we're looking for here is looking for 3 points of contact. We're looking for the shoulders or the scapula on. We're looking for the glutes on and the feet on the ground. Your feet can be flat, as you see he's demonstrating relatively there with his feet, or we can be on our tippy toes as long as the soles of the shoes touch the floor. And the first command you're going to get, actually you're not going to get command, you'll lift off of your own. If you want your own lift-off person, you can bring them out, or we can use a spotter. And then from this position, the head referee will see that you're stable and ready, and you'll get the start command. Lower the bar to your chest and wait. There's no limit of time, no amount of time that we're going to make you stay on your chest, just as long as we can see you motionless. And you'll get press, you come to full lockout, and you get rack, and that's when you go back to the rack. So some of the things that will, and then once you're done, of course, leave the platform, right? So some of the things that will, that was a good clean lift, so that was all three white light lift. But some of the things that could earn you a red light from the referees, and one of the most popular things is actually, as we see a lot, is people jumping commands. So come out, get your lift off, and then he hasn't had command yet, he's already jumped the command, so that would be a red light. We'll assume that he's not jumping his command, so the next thing that we're going to be looking for is we're looking for his glutes to maintain contact with the bench. And so I'm not sure if you can see it from here, but he's actually, and the reason we wear tight singlets in competition is so that we can see your glutes on the bench, but he is off of the bench. His glutes are clearly off the bench there, so you can rack the bar. Now the reason that's a red light is because what you're doing is you're recreating the press where you're stronger in the bottom part of your body instead of the flat bench. So people say, oh, arching is cheating. Well, it's really not, because the rule book allows it. You're using your anatomy to help you get the lift, and in the case of bringing your glutes off of the bench, you're doing an extreme version of that. If you notice, some people can bench press more in a decline position than they can with a flat bench position. And that's because you're pushing your body weight up to some degree, right? So you're stronger there because you're going to do that a lot more often in your life. And so that's the reason why that rule is there. The next one we're going to be looking for is, now you can, if you want, you can squeeze the bench with your knees. What you can't do is squeeze the bench with your feet. So your feet can move this direction and that direction slightly. It's called incidental movement, but you can't touch the actual equipment itself. So what you're doing is you're creating more of that tension, and not all benches have that material, so what we do is we just go and rule it out altogether, right? That way everybody's on the same playing field. The other thing that is allowed in some federations, or this federation, but not others, is the head off of the bench. And some lifters, when they bench, they like to, after they lower the bar down, and John will demonstrate, bring their head up, and then when they get the press command, create all kinds of pressure and move the bar up, and that's perfectly legal in the USPA. The other thing that a lot of lifters will do is they'll heave the bar off their chest. Now, in every single lift in this federation, any federation, once you begin the upward motion, or once you get the start command or initiated lift command, it has to be up and only up. So when John is in this position and he hears press, if he brings the bar down and heaves it up, then he has gone down after the press command, and that would be a red light. So if you're not kind of lifter, then what you want to do is you want to bring the bar off the rack, get the start command, go ahead and sink, and then wait for press and heave. Just like that. So that way what you're doing is you're not going in up and down motion. So good job on that.
What about so one thing I might mention is you can put your feet up on the bench to get set up. But when lifters do that, sometimes their butt's off the ground to set up. Okay? And so I'll just do it, and you'll talk about what the pitfalls are of doing that. It's fine, but there's some things you need to think about.
Well, not only, so when you bring your glute off the bench in this position, and if this is how you unrack, that's fine, but once the start command happens, all 3 points of contact we talked about a minute ago, scapula, glutes, and feet, have to be made. So if you're the kind of lifter, and I'm back here and demonstrate with a handoff, so the head referee is looking in this direction, and if you're the kind of lifter that does that, and you have your own handoff person, then you'll get the handoff, and you want your handoff person to remain in place until you're set, and then they come off, and now the referee knows that's when you're ready to rock and roll. Because you will get a red light if your glutes are off the bench at the initiation of the start command. And we can't always see that from the head chair, right? So.
The reason why we have these plates here is because typically in a public gym, even in most home gyms, you don't have a competition bench set up, and the height of most benches is higher than a competition bench. So when you perfect your setup for a 12-week meet prep cycle, your body's accustomed to lifting a certain way. Then you get to the meet, it throws off your arch, your leg drive, and everything else. So what we did is basically just grab a bumper plate and a 45-pound plate and approximated the height of a competition bench. I actually had a set of blocks made that are perfect for that, but if especially if you don't have a home gym, you just want to grab enough plates to approximate the height, and you can find that height in the rule book, but we just looked it up. So do you remember what it's
between 42 and 45 centimeters. So if you stand up, we'll show what that measurement looks like. So that measurement is with the pad uncompressed from the floor. So this is recreating the floor. So we measure from that plate to the top of this pad, and that's between 42 to 45 centimeters uncompressed on the bench. Now, that's the height of the bench to the ground. So naturally, you're not going to be able to increase that height in competition, but you can decrease that height in competition if your from the knees to the ankles are not long enough to get down to the bench in the competition. So you can use blocks in your competition if that's necessary, but you can't actually raise the bench up. So to John's point, you want to recreate this as much as you can in your home gym, and if you need extra height, then you can always ask for that at the meet as well. A lot of times we get questions about hand placement on the bar and the type of grip that's allowed. So John's using a pretty common hand placement right now. So John, if you can open up your hands, we can see where the ring is. So he's using about front finger, forefinger on the ring, which is a pretty common position. I actually bench more like right in here, but you'll notice that both these positions, the hand is touching the ring itself. So the rule is that the hand must cover the ring if it goes out to the ring. So you don't have to have your hand on the ring all the time. You can actually bench in here if you want, but once you go out into this direction, the hand cannot go further than it touching the ring. He's also allowed to use, so he's using a pretty common grip, a thumb over the bar grip. You're also permitted to use what we call a suicide grip, and it's called that for good reason, because sometimes the bar may slip out of your hands. So we're using a thumbless grip right here, and he's actually exaggerating it right now, where he's bringing his wrist over, and you can see how much, like when you start putting weight on here, 300-400 pounds, it really starts to get hard to hold it. So a lot of times those guys will have it back like that, and that can be uncomfortable for some people. So the popular grip is thumb over, and now your wrist is in line. But if you choose to use thumb under, that's permitted in USPA.
Alright guys, I hope that video helped you guys out with your bench setup. You can reach out to Mike if you have any other questions on social media. How do they get in touch with you?
So you can find me on Instagram at Kilted Lifter, K-I-L-T-E-D, so actually wear a kilt, Kilted Lifter. Or my name's Mike Newbern, and I'm pretty easy to access on social media there as well.
All right, we've also got another video that does the exact same thing but for the squat. So if you haven't watched that, you want to check it out. And we also have more tips for you in our powerlifting meet checklist. You can find that by just going right there.